Hello, hello, hello. How are you? I hope you're keeping well and that you are managing yourself in the midst of the situations that we've had in the last number of months going into 2 years now. And that you're doing your best to keep well, to keep safe, and of course, to enjoy life. This is Toluwani Akaehomen, HergenuityAfrika. Of course, you know that HergenuityAfrika is a membership organization for women, females of African descent who are in business. And also as an organization, what we do is that we promote and we support entrepreneurship and business leadership among females of African heritage. And so you're welcome. Actually, this broadcast was meant to take place on Instagram. And I tried 3 different times on Instagram. I try to do this once a week on Instagram, just to share thoughts, ideas, tips, strategies about how we can grow our businesses as females of African heritage. And I tried 3 different times on Instagram to do a live broadcast, and it kept dropping off. So I thought, well, why not? Why not go and do it this way? And then I can upload it later on. So as I was sitting down and thinking about what to share today, and a lot of times what I come to share or I share with entrepreneurs in general would be topics that would have come from my own experience in business, from failing in business and to picking myself up and starting again in business, and also in conversations of the experiences that people have had or that they're currently having, and or even experience that I'm currently in, but also things that I read or listen to, and to see how these conversations will benefit us as women, but also as women of African descent, looking to be empowered, looking to empower ourselves socio-economically. Because at the end of the day, when we are empowered, when we are independent financially, economically, the continent will feel it. Our families at home will feel it. And of course, our communities here in the diaspora will feel that, will feel the impact of who we are and what we're doing. I think the core of my vision is to see the African woman in her glory, maximizing her potentials as a creative human being, as an ingenious human being, somebody who is resourceful, who is resilient, who is innovative, coming out in her phenomenality. That is my vision of the African woman. And that is what we think about and talk about in HergenuityAfrika as we work together to ensure that we grow one another within the network. I'm just going to close this curtain here because the sun is getting to my eye. I'm thankful for the sun, because a lot of times here in Ireland, as people say, we don't really get the sun, but who am I to complain when we have the sun or when we don't really get it? But I'm that kind of person that says, whatever the weather, I'm happy to roll with whatever I get. So let me launch right into it. Today, I'm going to be talking about collaboration. And that is because a lot of the conversations that I've had with women, older, younger, of African heritage in the last while has been about how come when we are so brilliant as a people, particularly we women, and that's not to say that men are not brilliant, I'm just talking about women in this regard. When we as women are so great, how come we're not doing as excellently, as brilliantly as we should? What is wrong with becoming more, doing more, gaining more? And we started talking about what collaboration is and why collaboration. And that's what I'll be talking about today. And of course, your comments, your thoughts are welcome to be shared with us on our social media channels And of course, by email to us at info@HergenuityAfrika.org. What we know what collaboration is. I mean, we know what collaboration is. People are calling that collabo. And it's about 2 or 3 or more people coming together to explore and maximize the potentials that they have to succeed in whatever area. So, of course, not just in business, but whatever area, they come and they harness the diversity of what they have, pulling it together, and of course, ensuring that there is benefit for everyone within what they create. So why should we collaborate? I mean, there's so many reasons why. But one thing that comes to mind, and I suppose that encapsulates it all, is that concept of synergy, where we have an interactive process that engages all of what we have so that we can work together and achieve outcomes that would be better and greater together than if we had actually done it individually. So that's why we collaborate. We collaborate so we can accelerate, so that we can gain more. What comes to mind right now is that scripture in the Bible, and no apologies to those who don't share what the Bible says. I'm just using it as a principle that so buttress my point, and not as a religious book, okay? So I'm referring to the Bible here in terms of the principle, the life principles that come out of it, that it shares. The Bible talks about 2 are better than 1 because they have a great reward for their labor. So that is what collaboration is about. Is when we harness the power of 2 so that what they have would be, of course, what they create, what the outcome would be greater and better and more than they could have achieved when they did it individually. But out from this conversation that I've had with people about collaboration would be what I said before. People wonder, why are we not collaborating more as women of African descent, as females of African descent, when we could do so much more together? Because people are doing great individually, but based on the principle of collaboration, and even that Bible verse that I quoted, why can we not work together to get more? Because when we get more, I benefit, you benefit. Our families at home benefit, at home in Africa benefits. Of course, the African continent is better for it. There are a number of reasons that people have shared with me, and I'll bring those reasons that people have shared into this conversation, plus my own experience that I've had as well. And rather than make it a negative and say, this is why, I'm going to turn it around and say, this is how we can do it, so that we can maximize the benefits of collaboration. So first and foremost is that trust, mutual trust and respect. Mutual trust and mutual respect is non-compromisable when it comes to collaboration. We have all of those that are involved in the collabo must trust and respect one another. Trust. That I'm not looking over my shoulder, to say, what's going on over there that I don't know about. I'm not looking over the shoulder, the other person, and say, what are they doing that they don't want me to see? that we have that mutual trust. And that, of course, it's a vulnerable place to be because humans will always be humans. But then, if that is the position, we would never collaborate. So it is important to have mutual trust and mutual respect. And of course, mutual trust and respect has to be clearly understood by all the parties because it can be subjective. It can be subject to our own perceptions, our own interpretations of what trust and respect should be. So it's important then to be very clear on one another. People are upfront about what respect is for them, what trust means for them. And that brings me nicely to the next point. It's about setting very clear rules, very clear guidelines, no ambiguity. No, they should have known that. No, we have to be very clear about the guidelines that we have to follow when we are collaborating. It will work. It can work. It has all the potentials to work when we follow, when we clearly articulate what those guidelines are, what those rules are, and that how binding it should be, what those boundaries are that should not be crossed. You know that when the sea or the ocean or the river crosses its boundary, it's chaos. It becomes a tsunami. It's great when the sea's out there, when we go to the beach and it's at its own end, it's doing its own thing, and we are at the edge of the beach and then we are doing our own thing. We are just loving it. We go in and come out. Each party, the sea and us, we respect one another's boundaries, but it becomes a disaster when we don't respect the boundaries that the sea puts there, and the sea doesn't respect our boundaries, and then it's disaster for everybody. So the same for us as entrepreneurs, that when we set out the boundaries out, we have to follow the boundaries. We have to be respect. I think it's back to the first point of mutual respect, that we have to respect those boundaries. So that is important. Set clear guidelines. And part of setting clear guidelines would then probably mean that we have to, in fact, not probably, it would mean, it should mean that we should have an MOU, a memorandum of understanding that works for all of us. And to make sure that it is overseen and it is duly, shall I say, notarized by a legal personnel. So let's not, I'm Nigerian, and a lot of the businesses, I don't know about other Africans, I suppose it would be the same because we are, for most of sub-Saharan Africa, our cultures, our tradition, our lifestyles are the same. You know, we do business with our mouth, or, you know, it's always a verbal contracts. I love watching Justice Court. I think it's presided over by Justice Fumi Ashaolu. And when I'm watching, it makes me laugh when she says, oh, for example, if someone brings another person to court and there's a dispute, especially a financial dispute, and then she goes, do you have a contract? Do you have a memorandum of agreement of understanding? And it makes me laugh because that's not our style. That's not what we do. We Africans, Nigerians, we don't do, it's hard. It's like, it's word of mouth. He said to me, she said to me. And so because we said it's binding, but no, it's not. Because word of mouth should be, yes, should be strong enough, should be what we can stake our lives on in ideal situations. But a lot of times, you know, we're human beings. The situations are not ideal. And you find people shifting boundaries, shifting the goalpost rather than boundaries, shifting the goalpost when it comes to now telling the truth about what was actually said and what was not said. So for collaboration to work in business, we must have that MOU. You must have it on paper, written, and to make sure that it becomes a legal document between us, legal agreements between us, so that it will be clear what we are doing, especially when you are dealing with different, it becomes more than two and becomes 3 and 4, and it's a collaboration, because collaboration doesn't necessarily have to be 2 people. It could be more than 2 people. So it's important to go down that way and have that kind of document. I also believe that we should have humility that guides our step, and the ability to consider the perspectives and the views of others. Considering the perspective and the views of others, the humility that comes from that, the humility that follows that surrounds that. It's very, very important that we make sure that others within that collaborative setup feel heard. They feel that you're listening, that you're not trying to impose your will on them, that everybody can bring to the table what he or she is feeling. They can bring to the table what they want to say. There is an opportunity for you to air it all, and the humility to accept what other people are saying without feeling that it's about you, but it's about the business. It's about the business. So it's important for us to have, I think, that level of humility. And of course, humility doesn't mean that we are going to be doormats and allow other people to walk over us. No, that's not what it means. It simply means that you have a completely honest opinion and a completely honest estimation about yourself. You don't think of yourself too highly than you ought to. Do you know who I am? And you don't think of yourself lower than you ought to. And who are we? No. It's not, do you know who I am? And it's not, we could not be nobody. No, that's not what it is. It is having that honest opinion about yourself, your honest supposition, honest estimation about yourself, and saying, this is who I am. And, I'm not going to step above what I should be. I want to hear you. Having that understanding of, I value you as a person. And we are in this business together. We want to make it together. I want to hear your thoughts. I don't necessarily, have to agree, but we can agree to disagree, or we can, and it's okay to argue. We can argue without falling out, as they say in Ireland here. Let's not fall out over that. We can argue, but we don't have to fall out, which it's a skill that I think we need to learn. I think we need to learn it. I think it's a character quality we need to learn, that I can have an argument with you without falling out with you. I can put my thoughts out. Yes, we can disagree about a matter, but then we are mature enough to look at it from each other's or one another's perspective and say, okay, I see where you're coming from, but actually, let me put this differently. Let's look at it in this way, in a different way, or rather than say, rather than fighting and shouting about it. So I think that will work for collaboration. Another thought about that is being able to identify what your fears are and confront them. I think that if we're honest with ourselves, we're really honest, we would be able to pinpoint areas of fear about collaboration. I have them, you have them, where we probably have been burned in the past. through one deal or the other. Not necessarily in business, but maybe in other areas of life. And like, never again will I do this with somebody else and all that. I totally get it. I totally get it. Because as one of my dear friends always say never. I get it though. But I think that when we actually confront our fear and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? And we go down to the very roots of it, then we can address those issues that come up from that fear, the deeply rooted issues that brought fear, the fear of collaboration. Because at the end of the day, we are better working together. It's easier working together than only you. The entrepreneurial journey is a hard journey in itself. It's a lonely journey because you're the only one, especially when you're a startup. You are this, you are that, you're this, you're that. Only you in the organization, only you in the business. How great it is if you have one or two other people that you can chat together about the business. You brainstorm, you strategize, you explore different opportunities together. How wonderful it will be if you can just deal with the fear, because fear brings torment. Fear brings suspicion. You suspect everybody, and fear makes us lose out. It's just like a woman who has suffered in the hands of maybe a man. And the woman now, because of that incident, looks at every other man with suspicion, like, you know what they're looking for. No, I won't fall into this trap. It's possible that you end up missing. You miss the real thing, the cocoa person that God is bringing your way. You might miss that. So that is why we don't allow fear to fester, because at the end of the day, we lose out. So I don't want to lose out because of fear. So I need to dig deep and explore the reason why I'm afraid of collaboration. Who burned me in the past? What happened? Why did it happen? And, we look at that and we ensure that we deal with those issues. And I think the last point here is about clarity. I think I've alluded to that in one of my points. Clarity about your goals, your objectives, the structure, who's doing what, who's manning what, who's in charge of what. Clarity. There's no room for ambiguity. Clarity about who is doing what, who's manning what, who is in charge of what. And then we respect the boundaries. So there must be clarity. There's no room for ambiguity. There's no room for, I didn't know that. I was just helping you out, unless there's clear communication about that. And so to the very last point is communicate, and continue to communicate. Talk it over, talk it. And I suppose that is part of the clarity. Communication comes with clarity. Communication is clarity. When we are clear about everything, we drill down and we don't leave room for people's thoughts to go, what does she mean? Did she mean this? Did she mean, what did it? No, let's be clear about everything. And that is why communication is important. We communicate with one another in a way that it doesn't go over one another's head. Everybody understands what we are saying. And that is important for collaboration. I'm sure that you will have other points that you want to share as well. Maybe your own experiences about collaboration, maybe your own thoughts, maybe your own fears, whatever you want to share. You can leave it in the comment section below, or you can DM us, or you can get in touch by email. Whatever way, we'd like to hear from you. But I hope to some extent that this thought it was, I was going to say short broadcast, but it's become long now. But this broadcast has been of some value, some benefit to you. And if you want to get in touch with Hergenuity Africa, you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can find us, of course, by email, info@HergenuityAfrika.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time.